What's good, LFM fam? Welcome back to LFM. Let's face it, the podcast where we cut through the noise and talk about what really matters. I'm your host, Janae Sky, and if you've been on social media, turned on the news, or just existing in the world today, you know exactly what we got to talk about. The Diddy trial. Sean Diddy Combs. The verdict is in. And let me tell you, this one hits different. For months, we've watched, we've debated, we've seen the headlines, the shocking testimonies, the raids. Today, the jury delivered their decision in the federal trial in New York City. And the outcome, for many, is complicated. Let's break down the facts first, straight from the court. Sean Diddy Combs was acquitted of the most severe charges against him: racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. That's right, not guilty on those counts, including the one involving Cassandra Ventura, known to us as Cassie. But here's where it gets interesting, and frankly, confusing for some. He was found guilty on 2 lesser charges. Count 3, transportation to engage in prostitution. Count 5, transportation to engage in prostitution. Each of these counts, LFM fam, carries a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison. So, while the immediate reaction from many might be to see this as a victory for Combs, and his family certainly did, erupting in cheers and applause in the courtroom, with Diddy himself reportedly kneeling and praying, it's crucial to understand what this actually means. Now, let's talk about what happened after the verdict was announced. Combs' legal team immediately pushed for his release on a $1 million secured bond, arguing this was his first conviction, requesting he surrender his passport and limit his travel. But the prosecution vehemently opposed it, arguing he shouldn't be released, especially since the trial proved he repeatedly violated the law even when he knew he was under federal investigation. And in a significant move, Judge Aaron Subramanian denied Diddy's request for release. He said Combs hasn't shown any exceptional circumstances to warrant it, calling his reasoning purely personal. But more importantly, the judge stated that Combs' team was unable to prove he wouldn't be a danger to others upon his release. And get this, the judge cited Cassie Ventura's graphic testimony from May, and he even quoted the defense's own admission about Combs' abuse of his former girlfriend. The judge quoted it directly from the transcript. "It happened," he said. "We own the domestic violence. We own it." Let that sink in, LFM fam. The defense admitted to domestic violence, and the judge used that in his decision to keep Diddy detained. He's not going home tonight. He's back in a federal detention center until his sentencing. So, what does this verdict mean for us? For the culture? For survivors? On one hand, there's the narrative that Diddy survived the storm, that he beat the big ones. The man who built an empire, who defined an era in hip-hop, who was seen as the ultimate black mogul. He wasn't found guilty of sex trafficking, of racketeering. For some, particularly those who have revered him as an icon, this might feel like a vindication, or at least a sigh of relief. But then there's the other side, the side that demands accountability, the side that hears transportation to engage in prostitution and knows that this isn't just a technicality. This is a serious felony. It speaks to exploitation, to power dynamics, and to the dark underbelly that too often exists behind the glitz and glamour. For Cassie Ventura, for Jane, and for countless other survivors watching this case unfold, this verdict sends a mixed message. It says the most egregious charges were not proven beyond a reasonable doubt, which can be incredibly disheartening. But it also says that wrongdoing did occur, and that even the rich and powerful are not completely untouchable. It highlights the immense difficulty of prosecuting these kinds of cases, where victims often face immense pressure, where power dynamics are skewed, and where proof can be elusive years after the fact. It reminds us that justice, especially for the most vulnerable, is often a long, winding, and imperfect road. And for us, as a community, as people who navigate these complex spaces, where we celebrate our cultural giants but also demand ethical behavior and accountability, this is a moment for deep reflection. Can we separate the art from the artist? Can we acknowledge the contribution someone has made while simultaneously condemning their harmful actions? This verdict is not a clear-cut win for justice in the way many had hoped for. It's a nuanced, messy outcome that leaves many questions unanswered and much healing still to be done. It's a reminder that even when the headlines proclaim a victory, the truth often lies in the details, in the lives impacted, and in the continued fight for accountability. Sentencing is currently proposed for October 3rd, but his team wants to expedite it. We will be watching closely, y'all. The conversation around power, privilege, exploitation, and accountability is far from over. What are your thoughts on this verdict? How does it make you feel? Let us know. Hit us up on social media at LFM Media. Let's keep this dialogue going, respectfully, thoughtfully, but most importantly, honestly. Thank you for tuning in to LFM Podcast with your girl, Janae Sky. Stay informed, stay empowered, and always, always demand accountability. Peace.